Teachers, what's the most elaborate way a student ever tried to frame you for something you didn't do? Brandon started staying after class in October. He was a quiet junior who'd never spoken much before, but suddenly he wanted to talk about college applications and career advice. I'm a high school history teacher, and students asking for help wasn't unusual, so I didn't think much of it at first. He'd linger after the bell, asking questions about my teaching career, where I went to school, what made me want to work with teenagers, normal, curious student stuff, except he'd also ask weird, specific questions about my schedule, what time I arrived in the morning, whether I stayed late to grade papers, if I ever came in on weekends. I'd answer casually, not thinking anything was wrong. Brandon seemed like a good kid trying to figure out his future, but then small things started appearing in my classroom. A silver bracelet on my desk that wasn't mine, a hoodie hanging on the back of my chair that didn't belong to anyone in my classes, a phone charging cable plugged into my computer that I'd never seen before. Each time, I'd put the items in the lost and found, assuming students had forgotten them, but it kept happening. New items every few days, always left in spots that made it look like they belonged there. My coworker Sarah mentioned she'd seen Brandon hanging around my classroom during her planning period when I wasn't there. She asked if he was working on a project for me. I said no, and that's when I started paying closer attention. Brandon would show up before school started, standing outside my locked classroom. He'd be there after the final bell too, even when he didn't have questions, always watching, always nearby. I checked the sign-in logs at the front office and found Brandon had requested a student aid position specifically for my classroom period, claiming he needed teaching observation hours for college applications. The counselor approved it without asking me. So for 2 weeks, Brandon had a legitimate reason to be in my room during my planning period, alone, while I was at lunch or in meetings. I started documenting everything, photos of the strange items appearing in my room, dates and times when Brandon showed up unexpectedly, notes about his odd questions. Something was building, but I couldn't figure out what. Then my principal called me in for a meeting. She looked uncomfortable, said there'd been a complaint filed against me. A student claimed I'd taken personal items from them, jewelry, a hoodie, a phone cable, the same items that had been appearing in my classroom. My stomach dropped. The student said I'd been keeping their belongings in my desk, that they'd seen me with their stuff during class. The principal said she had to investigate, that she'd need to search my classroom. We walked back to my room together, and she went straight to my desk. The bottom drawer, the one I rarely opened, was full of items I'd never seen before. Expensive items, a silver necklace, designer sunglasses, car keys, someone's wallet with cash still inside. The principal's face changed as she pulled each item out, lining them up on my desk. She asked how I'd explain having student belongings locked in my desk. I had no answer. I'd never touched any of these things. Brandon appeared in the doorway right then, and I saw his expression. That's when I realized what I'd never expected. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.